I rank where the view is nothing less than phenomenal. For how I express and project from my abdominal. The only view better, both my daddy and my mama know. No living parents, my sons give me balance. My wife is my serenity, this mic is my identity. The world is foul enough, that's why I write without obscenities. Provoking danger with broken language and spoken anguish. Begging to get hurt, why would you ask to go through changes? Yes, Lord, life's a chessboard, master the angles. Control the tempo, be the one who holds the info. Acknowledge is just as deadly as machete swings. When spoken, the truth is as potent as that Medellin. While others swear the style is free, I just let it ring. Our time is undervalued, soldiers make us better kings. My family's on my shoulder, reaching after better things. Today I take the shot, for them I'd rather set the screen.
My mama told me follow my dreams. My daddy told me get it by any means. Stand tall, make him bow to a king. But I've evolved, you can see the result. Look in my eyes when you speaking to God.
Life and for those who we caught up in using what I was taught with the muse. I guess they call it proving I'm more than an artist. Penciling out my darkest while stenciling out a harvest. And storing what gets me from A to B, just like garages. Instrumental with collages. Envision what I've been drawing. Broadway to give you rhythm like the great Lena on. So bent on, found comfort in the storm. Find peace and on when you see them others perform. Organized chaos, outcasted like hey ya.
Yo, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's the #1 Chief Rock in Knicks universe, your main man, Uncle Freezy, and welcome to the Knicks at Night podcast. Y'all want this party started right. Y'all want this party started quickly, right? Okay. I see y'all out there. JJ is in the house. Will Salkin is in the house. Happy Father's Day to everybody watching. Thank you to the members and the supporters of this channel as we continue to grow and do the best we can to put out high quality content. Right? All right. So let's get into the reason why we're here. The reason why I'm here tonight is because we started. I had a video earlier. I didn't really like the quality of it, but it is what it is. I'll leave it. It is what it is. Hey, salute. Rodney Atkins is in the house. LI1 is in the house. What's good, fam? What's good? So I didn't intend to jump on tonight. I wanted to kind of have like the Father's Day or Father's weekend Sunday night. And I'm trying to figure out a term that's accurate. But whatever. Sunday Father's Day night to myself is kind of what I'm getting at. And I know that sounds weird the way that you describe it, or Father's night to himself. I wanted to kind of have, I kind of wanted to eat some bad snacks and watch some TV or whatever. But then some things transpired. Tom from Huntington is in the house. So some things transpired, and I feel like I have to address them. Right, so let's rock for a little while together. Let's rock for a little while together, man, and we can discuss, a few things. I'm not gonna do a wide open panel with people coming in, like the fans coming in, talking about 19 different things at once. I'm not gonna do that. I'm probably gonna limit that going forward anyway. But I'm just gonna focus on rocking the spot. I'm just gonna focus on rocking the spot, right? There are some things that we need to address as Knicks fans, and I want to have a base conversation into some of those things. Right? I want to have a base conversation on some of those things. So, when I put out the video earlier, I was trying to test some tech. And all of that stuff, it didn't go well. But Yo, Quiet Money is in the house. Salute, brother. Salute, salute. So what I want to do is just address a few things, man. While I'm here in this spot. Drip more, okay. I see you. So how about we do it this way? I have 3 topics that I want to talk about. 4 topics. I have 4 topics that I want to talk about. Trading Randall, not having a GM, the NBA draft, and trading for a star. And so what I want to do is go in an order that makes it seamless. So I want to go in an order that makes it seamless. I should probably write it down so I can stay on point. Hey, Tom from Huntington. Snacks, baby. You see that? These are the snacks right here. So I got a little bag of Crunch and Munch, man. I mean, Chex Mix. And I know it's not good for you, but I've been trying to be good. You can only eat broccoli so many days. You can only eat asparagus so many days. So I'm gonna pull out the pad and pull out a pen if I have one, and I probably should have all that stuff here somewhere, but even if I do, yeah. So what we'll do is, because I have everything here mentally, what I want to say, but I want to do it in an order so that it makes sense. All right. So my order of things is going to be GM search, trade for a star, trade Randall, and the draft. Time for munches. Yo, y'all are hilarious, man. Y'all are hilarious. So Tom from Huntington says, I have empty Chex bags. So so you beat me to it, basically. You beat me to it. Right. G Money is in the house. What's good? Justo 11 is in the house. What's good, man? So let's start with the obvious thing that's flying a little bit under the radar. Right. So let's start with the obvious thing that's going under the radar. And I think it's probably going under the radar intentionally. But at the same time, I think it maybe deserves a lot of attention. So the Golden State Warriors team president, GM for a long time, Bob Myers, stepped down. Right? And so after, weeks of speculation, will he come back? Will he not? Will he come back? Will he not? He decided not to, and the spot was empty. So about a week later, what seems like a week later, they named Mike Dunleavy Jr. as their general manager. No big deal, smooth transition. Right? They're champions over there. They know how to build it. They got the right group of people together. And so their transition of power seems to be seamless. Right? Seems to be seamless. Appears harmless. Like he's stepping out, he's not going to come back. It seemed like they had a line of or at least some type of hierarchy in place where everyone graduates. Like when one person leaves the line, the gap is filled seamlessly, right? And so the Knicks have let us know that Scott Perry won't be returning. And I don't know how the Knicks not have this thing at least addressed externally yet. Like I'm not for sure how the Knicks don't have this addressed externally yet. Like how do you not, at least say, this is the guy we're looking to add. These are the candidates. No, we're going to do this internally. No, we're conducting an outside search. However they're going about doing it, I'm not for sure how it's not communicated to us. They know we crave all of this information. And so while I do understand that the Knicks media, and daily I'm understanding that I'm increasingly more and more involved in Knicks media socially. But I'm not for sure how they don't address certain things and are like, you know what? This is what we're looking to do. Right? The thing about it is not as simple as, hey, Joel Embiid is available. Go get him. No. We know that already. It's the reason why we don't have Jaden Ivey. It's the reason why we don't have Donovan Mitchell. It's the reason why we probably don't have Zach LaVine. It's the reason why we don't have a number of players, because it's not as easy as I'm the head honcho of such and such team. I like your player. Here, take this asset swap in exchange. It's not that easy. If it were that easy, stars would be moving all the time. It's not that easy. So I guess ultimately what I'm getting at is there a in-house candidate? Right? Is there an in-house candidate that the Knicks are looking to promote? Is it Gerson Rosas? Is it Allen Houston? Right? Is it Patrick Ewing? Like, we don't know at this point who. We don't know at this point who the Knicks are going to name as a general manager, or if Scott Perry is going to be in charge of the draft and then leave. So if you're the Knicks fans right now, you know how little things mean a lot. Like, say for instance, your baby is, you know, you getting your babies or your kids ready for the first day of school, and you taking them to the bus stop and all that stuff. And you know what school is, and you know your kids want to go, and then the bus don't show up because the bus doesn't have a bus driver. Right? And so it's like the little things that mean a lot when it comes to stuff like this. So if you're the Knicks, do you have a bus driver in-house that you're going to promote, that you have faith in? If not, how come we're not linked to a lot of different things? Maybe a Bob Myers, who, for the most part, I mean, I don't care who the general manager is at this point. Right. I don't care who the bus driver is at this point. As long as you get a competent executive to man that spot, that's what we'll need. Right. So with that said, if you don't have a general manager, does that mean the front office is not on the same page? I do think the front office is all on the same page. Right. I think that the front office may all be on the same page, but who's going to do that day-to-day grind work? Is it still Scott Perry, or is it somebody else? What I would say is definitely get that thing taken care of, Knicks. It's one of those things that should probably have been done already, and maybe they have infrastructure in place already. Or maybe they don't, and maybe that's the reason why they have not traded for Karl Anthony Towns yet. Because even though I'm against a Karl Anthony Towns trade by himself, in my mind, there are certain trade scenarios, right? There are certain trade scenarios. Karl Anthony Towns is one of them, right? Zach LaVine is one of them. Joel Embiid is one of them. But all the names mentioned, of all the things mentioned, I think Karl Anthony Towns is the one that's more complicated. And it's not because Karl Anthony Towns is a bad NBA player. It's because of his skill set. Right? It's because of his skill set. Because the thing about first of all, remember who Karl Anthony Towns is. See, Cat is not a spring chicken anymore. And Joel Embiid is not a spring chicken anymore. Zach LaVine is not a spring chicken anymore. And so when you go out and get these guys, keep in mind that these guys have a ton of wear and tear on them. A ton. Keep in mind that these guys have a lot of miles on them. So when you go out and get these guys, you have to be mindful that when you get them, even though their talent is immense, that these guys need certain things to go along with them. They need help in a lot of areas. They need help in a lot of areas. Like if you go get Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns, you have to have a good power forward to go beside them, probably one that can shoot and play off the dribble. And then you have to have a stud backup center, right? Because even though they play the game at the highest level, you don't necessarily want them to be doing all the dirty work. So now you got to go get guys that do the dirty work with them. So whatever trade you go, like say for instance, if you go get, So say for instance, you go get Karl Anthony Towns, right? You have to have a power forward next to him that's going to do all the dirty work and pick up certain assignments so that Karl Anthony Towns can get into his bag. Minnesota has done a terrible job of doing this over the years. So if you, in my mind, if you bring in a Karl Anthony Towns, you have to keep a Julius Randle. You have to, because next to a Karl Anthony Towns, you want a power forward with a edgy. If for instance, you can't put two finesse players in the front court side by side. Teams will just run over you day and night. You can't just put two finesse players in the back court together, right? It's not ideal. So you want to get a guy next to Karl Anthony Towns with a screw loose kind of, if you understand what I'm saying. In my mind, you got to have a Randle type player. I'm not saying Randle. I'm saying a Randle type 4 that can shoot the three a little bit, that's going to get you double-digit rebounds, and that's going to be scrappy. Next to Karl Anthony Towns. Because you don't want, I'm telling you, listen, I've been around basketball for a very long time. The last thing you want is for Karl Anthony Towns to be at the 5 by himself, battling double and triple box outs by himself with a power forward like Davis Bertans, who is not going to be scrappy down there. It's the last thing you want. You don't want a Karl Anthony Towns and a Davis Bertans mix just because Davis Bertans can shoot threes. Because in theory, what's going to happen during all the other times where Davis Bertans doesn't have the basketball? Cat is getting filleted in the post and foul trouble, injuries piling up, all these type things. And now the very best of Karl Anthony Towns is in the rearview mirror because you don't have a Randle type guy down there with him. So I'm not saying Randle and Cat together, but y'all understand where I'm coming from. Y'all understand where I'm coming from. And then plus also you want another front court scorer with Cat. My personal opinion is Cat doesn't win because teams don't know how to build around Karl Anthony Towns' skill set. And the reason why I bring this up is because historically, I've seen players with the exact Karl Anthony Towns skill set, right? For instance, Kevin Willis, big, strong guy that can rebound, but a lot of touch around the rim, soft jumper. And of course, Kevin Willis is not as good as Cat. I'm talking about the skill set now. I'm talking about the skill set. Jack Sigmas of the world, right? That you got to put big bodies next to them in order to get the very best. Because if you don't, then now you're asking, your centerpiece to do all the dirty work, and you're trying to keep them healthy. But you got to have a GM. You got to have a GM in place in order to pull off said move. You got to have a GM in place to pull off said move. And let me see. JJ said something. What is JJ's comment? JJ says, who we stopping with Brunson, Randall, and Towns? That is an interesting question, but the answer is easier than what you think. See, the thing is you can't have it both ways, and you're not going to have it both ways. You're not going to have it as Knicks fans. You're not going to have it both ways. It's not how life works. Like life, you're not going to get everything you want, because the alternative is to keep Mitch. And who are we going to stop with Brunson, Randall, and Mitch? Think about that question. Who are we going to stop with Brunson, Randall, and Mitch? See, it seems better. That seems better, but it's not. It seems better, but it's not. Who are we going to stop with Brunson, Randall, and Mitch? Brunson, Randall, and Mitch, you're a second-round team that when you play elite teams, all your flaws are exposed. All your flaws are exposed with Brunson, Randall, and Mitch. And quite frankly, all the flaws were exposed with Randall and Mitch. And all the flaws were exposed with Randall. The answer to where the Knicks want to go is not the perfect fit, right? Because in theory, in these conversations, everyone feels as if they know the answer to what the perfect fit is, but you don't know what the perfect fit is. You got to get these guys on the floor together, find systems that fit them, and go with it. Right? NBA front offices know the answer. The answer to championships is talent. Like, for instance, I'm not going to knock the Miami Heat, right? I'm not going to knock the Miami Heat, but the Miami Heat they were a nice story, right? But you know why the Miami Heat didn't win the championship this year? Talent. And you know what the Miami Heat are going to do this offseason? Go get talent. The Miami Heat, hey, man, listen. Eric Spoelstra and that organization deserve kudos. They deserve kudos, man. They did an excellent job of putting a team together through all those injuries, right? But just like in 99, a number 8 seed made it to the NBA Finals, only to realize when you played the number 1 seed in a different conference in a championship, you got to have everything go your way, everything. And I can make excuses for everybody in the playoffs this year, 1 through 10. 1 through 10, I can make an excuse for every team. I can make the excuse for Philly, right? I can make the excuse for the Knicks. I can make the excuse for Chicago, for Atlanta, for Milwaukee. At the end of the day, it all comes down to talent. It's the reason why these NBA teams take the draft seriously. It's the reason why they take free agency seriously. Because if you're a contender, you have to stay in talent acquisition mode. If you want to be a contender, you can't ever have thoughts about pretending. So what I'm going to say to you ultimately is, while Karl-Anthony Towns may not appear to be an upgrade over Mitchell Robinson, Karl-Anthony Towns is an upgrade over Mitchell Robinson. You can bet that. Karl-Anthony Towns is an upgrade over Mitch, and it's not even close. It's not even close. If there was a trade Mitch for Karl-Anthony Towns, you'd probably have to throw in 5 picks. If Mitchell Robinson is the only player available in a trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, you have to throw in 5 picks, probably 3 unprotected. And so it's one of those things where certain things we look at that we feel as if it's super important, but then other things we just have to understand that. For instance, and this is just for my brother JJ. JJ, who's a better defender, Jokic or Karl-Anthony Towns? JJ, who's a better defender, Jokic or Karl-Anthony Towns? I'm laughing because I already know the answer. I already know the answer, right? Jokic is a 2-time league MVP. Jokic is a NBA champ, Finals MVP, and all of that. But who's the better defender, Karl-Anthony Towns or Jokic? We're gonna leave that one. We'll just leave it. But Jokic just won a championship. And I understand, like the question would be like, yo, but isn't Jamal Murray a better defender than, what about Jamal Murray? His defense is, Jamal Murray's defense is better than Brunson? Ultimately, what I'm saying is for like the peripheral questions, like legit for the peripheral questions. For the peripheral questions, we have to understand that, basketball is still a team sport. So if we're talking about team defense, we just can't isolate one player and say that one player is gonna change the world, because it doesn't necessarily happen like that. You can build a great team defense around two great defenders, but a lot of times when you have two great defenders, are they two-way players? Because when I look at Mutombo was an elite defender in his prime, and he was nowhere near a championship level defender. I mean, championship level center. Alonzo Mourning was an elite defensive center. Alonzo Mourning, people forget about how great Alonzo Mourning was, man. I kind of wish I can channel Jericho Sims's inner Alonzo Mourning, because they look like the same size, same type player until they start playing basketball and you realize that Jericho Sims ain't that dude. I love Jericho Sims, but even though they had the same build, Jericho Sims ain't Alonzo Mourning, brother. You know what I mean? So ultimately what I'm getting at is certain things can be made up with team concept and scheme, but you can't make up talent. Like you got to go get talent. You got to yeah. Yeah. I see you, coach. Coach is like, Mutombo went to the championships though. How would wait a minute. Let me I'm gonna rephrase your statement. Mutombo was on a team that went to a championship. Because if this statement is saying that Mutombo led a team to the finals, if this statement is saying that Mutombo led a team or heavily contributed to a team that went to the finals, then I'm going to just take this statement. I'm going to throw this statement in the trash, because I know this statement is not saying that Mutombo led a team to the finals or heavily contributed to a team making the finals. Just let the point be the point. Just let the point be the point. The point is the point, man. You know what I'm saying? Because we could say, hey, because if that's said, then we could say DeAndre Jordan was on a team that won a championship. DeAndre Jordan was on a team that won a championship. Is that how far we taking the don't go get Karl Anthony Towns thing? That we'll just bring up anything. Hey, shout out to Coach. Shout out to Coach, man. So ultimately, the point that I'm making is if you're the Knicks this offseason, you have to be in talent acquisition mode. Now, does that mean chase every narrative that's out there? No. The Knicks are a good team. The Knicks are a team that won 47 games. They probably could have won somewhere between 50 and 52 games if injuries wouldn't have hit at the wrong time. Like when RJ Barrett got injured, I felt like, well, a lot of us felt like RJ Barrett was about to break out when RJ Barrett got injured. When RJ Barrett got injured, he was probably about to break out, right? But things happen, and it happens to every NBA team. The Knicks are not star-crossed, right? They don't have bad luck. Things happen. Things happen. So and you know, RJ Barrett gets hurt. Jalen Brunson takes the tall. And Jalen Brunson took the fall. Remember, Jalen Brunson took the fall in the Chicago game where he bruised his hip and all that stuff. And my man kept for like a week and a half. He was limping all over the place. We didn't know if he was going to play. We didn't know if he was 100% or whatever. So this 47-win team, and I'm not saying that they underachieved, right? I'm saying that they probably played they played their best basketball. Let me put it that way. They probably played their best basketball. So I have a question about Obi. And it's not for you guys. My Obi question is not for you guys. My question about Obi is a general question. It's a general question. What do you do with Obi Toppin? It's a general question. Like, I'm not picking out one specific person in the chat to ask this question to, or I'm not out hell bent on Obi. The further I get away from the season, the more I'm starting to embrace our players more and more. And I should have been that way during the season. But when you watch the season, you know, you go through the highs and lows. You're like, oh, dang it, Obi. Or you're like, yeah, Obi, yeah. So the closer you get, like the further I get away from the season, the more I open up to a Josh Hart return. Right? The further I get away from the season, the more I'm cutting people slack. The further I get away from the season, the more I'm embracing Grimes and Quickly and RJ and Hartenstein and Randall and Brunson and everyone. So, what do you do with Obi? In my mind, you have to do two things with Obi. And before next season, you have to commit to Obi's development. Obi, going forward, you're getting 22 minutes a game, at least. No 12 minutes, no 14 minutes. You gotta commit to Obi at least 22 minutes a game. Obi, you are a part of the future. Or you have to trade Obi now. To me, there's no middle ground. To me, there is no middle ground. Right? Like, you can't bring in another, because here's the thing. What are you going to do with Jericho Sims going into Jericho Sims' third season? What are you going to do with Miles McBride going into his third season? What are you going to do with Quentin Grimes going into his third season? And if you got questions about them, you can't have questions about Quickly and Obi going into their fourth season. So if you have questions about your third-year players, you definitely can't have questions about your fourth-year players. And you definitely can't have questions about RJ Barrett. And you definitely can't have questions about your sixth-year player, Mitchell Robinson. Yes, Mitchell Robinson has been with the Knicks for 5 seasons. Mitchell Robinson has played 5 seasons with the Knicks. RJ Barrett has played 4 complete seasons. 4 complete NBA seasons, not 4 complete personal seasons. Right? And if Obi and Quickly have played 3 seasons, and the guys behind them have played 2 complete seasons, you can't have any questions about the guys in front of them. Like if you have a pecking order, you have to understand what it is in that pecking order can stay and what has to go. Because things are moving and you can't allow 1 or 2 things to block movement. You just can't. You just can't. So what do you do with Obi? That's something that we could talk about for the rest of the week. I don't have an answer for it. I just have a question for it. Quite honestly, I don't have an answer for it. I just don't. I don't have all the answers to everything. I just don't. I don't have all the answers to everything. But the fact that there is an open Obi question means that something probably has to be done, and probably this week. I think that the question about Obi is the reason why the Obi question is in the air is because we don't know what to do with Randall. What do you do with Julius Randall? What do you do with a 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player? In my mind, you keep him and let him become a 3-time All-Star and a 3-time All-NBA player. But I do understand this. I understand this, though. And I've seen it for years. Right? You can't win championships with players like Julius Randle being your best guy. And y'all understand this. And y'all tell me this, but y'all say it wrong. But I understand where y'all coming from, but the way you guys say it is a terrible way to describe it. No disrespect. But I get told a lot that you can't win a championship with Julius Randle as your first or second option. And that's a terrible way to say it, because then when I ask you, well, what are the options? Like tell me, outline Tom Thibodeau's pecking order, and y'all tell me there is no pecking order, but then also say that Julius Randle can't be your first or second option. And then I say, well, what are the options? How does Tom Thibodeau have them outlined? And we say, well, Tom Thibodeau doesn't have them outlined. All he cares about is defense. His offense is just ISO heavy. And then when I say, well, if Randle can't be a first or second option, then how are you saying it that way? Well, I guess what you guys are really saying, and it's the same thing that I've been saying, Julius Randle's archetype never wins championships. You've never seen Karl Malone hold a trophy. You've never seen Charles Barkley hold a trophy. Right? You've never seen when Adrian Dantley was playing power forward for the Jazz, you never saw him hold the trophy. You never saw Buck Williams hold the trophy. You never saw Terry Cummins hold the trophy, right? Generally, power forwards on championship teams are multi-dimensional, low usage players, right? Even Draymond Green, who has a Randall temperament, plays more like Dave DeBusschere, a glue guy, a connector, a guy that will do whatever it takes to win. Right? You got to be and especially in today's NBA, in my mind, you have to be a glue guy, connector at the power forward. You have to be the guy that can do a bunch of different things in order to win. And I don't think Randall is that guy. So I agree with y'all when y'all say, I agree in the premise of what Knicks fans are saying. It's just, I think we say it wrong. Right? Like Julius Randle is the third option on the championship team. You don't know. Really? Who's the third option on the Denver Nuggets? And is Randle better than that player? Yes. Yes. The team they beat, the Miami Heat. If Julius Randle was on the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals against them, Julius Randle is not the third option. I'm sorry. Right? One would even say Jimmy Butler was not even a number one option in the NBA Finals. Jimmy Butler came back to earth. If we say Julius Randle on certain teams may be a third option, I could almost co-sign that. But ultimately, if you know all these things, if you know an enforcer can't be your best player, right? If you know your power forward has to be a glue guy connector in this era, right? If you know all these things, then what do you do with Julius Randle? In my mind, what you do with Julius Randle is easy. Either you trade for this guy on the screen, either you trade for that guy on the screen, or you trade for this guy and keep Randle and have a Randle Embiid Brunson type situation, or you trade Randle altogether. Pudge Nice, I'm sorry. Knicks are nice in the house. Says Cat, Zach, JB, and Randle. In my mind, this wins you a championship. Right? What he said. Cat, Zach, Brunson, and Randle, I think can win you an NBA championship. And I know what people are going to say off rip. Where's the defense? And I'm going to ask you, when did Michael Porter Jr. become a lockdown defender? When did Jamal Murray become a lockdown defender? When did Jokic When did Jokic? When did Jokic? JJ says we don't have Aaron Gordon. I thought you was saying something about the Mets. But no, Aaron Gordon didn't win the Denver Nuggets a championship, bro. Aaron Gordon did not win the Denver Nuggets a championship. I'm certain they would have won a championship without Aaron Gordon. I'm certain they would. Yeah, I'm certain about that. Aaron Gordon wasn't the. Aaron Gordon's a great player, but he wasn't the X factor. And JJ, man, what's our Mets gonna do, bro? I thought you had a, you know. So what do you do with Julius Randle, man? My thing is with a Julius Randle, you got to make a decision. Is he a cornerstone or is he a trade piece? Is he a cornerstone or is he a trade piece? What I'm going to say is he could be either. He should be either. Randall's a great player. Now, does he help us get to the places that we want to go? No. But did he help us get to a place that we didn't like being? Yes. Definitely. Can Julius Randle help us get a trophy? Yes, I'm sure he can help us. But did he get us away from those 17 win seasons? Definitely. Definitely. So should you keep Randall or should you trade him? Ultimately, I think it all comes down to who the Knicks acquire. Do they acquire this guy or this guy? Or this guy? Wait a minute. Okay. Not that guy. That guy? Do they trade for that guy? Or do they stay pat? I mean, quite frankly, simply put, the Knicks have decisions to make. And can those decisions in that decision-making process, we have to determine a few factors. Like, for instance, how good is Quentin Grimes going to be? And when are we going to see the fulfillment of Quentin Grimes' potential? I'm going to say that Quentin Grimes is eventually, if he can stay healthy, eventually is going to have a Paul George, Kawhi Leonard type impact on a championship team. I'm not saying that he's going to put up their offensive numbers. All I'm saying is the impact on the floor. Right? But how long do you wait on that? So what I'm going to say is ultimately, if you are in win now mode, if you want the quick fix, then you got to go get Zach LaVine right now. And you know, if you're in a quick fix mode, then part of the asset shuffling might include Grimes. Do I want to? No. Will it happen? Yeah. Nobody's going to give you their star for nothing. And if you feel like you're close, like if you feel like you should have beat the Heat, if you feel like you should have beat the Miami Heat, remember Grimes was on the floor when you lost. Will he get better? I'm certain of it. I'm certain of it. But how long are you guys willing to wait? How long are you going to wait? Listen, you can either go and get the fast food, or you can wait on the crock pot to finish. You can either you could go get the carry out, right? You can place your order online with Applebee's and go pick it up, or you can wait 7 more hours on that crock pot. And y'all know that crock pot feeling. You know how the crock pot is cooking and it's got the whole house smelling good, and you thinking, when this thing finishes, it's going to be delicious. That's Grimes and the young players. But you got to wait. Or you could just go get your carry out right away. Order exactly what you want on the app and then go pick it up, come home and eat. F that crock pot. Screw that crock pot. It's on you. What you want to do, right? The bizarre thing in this whole thing is the front office is not really telling us what to do, which makes me think that they're waiting on the crock pot. They continue to pick up herbs and spices, like draft picks and stuff. I'm calling draft picks like herbs and spices and stuff. They continue picking up things to make the meal taste better. Throwing more things in the crock pot and slow cooking. And to me, it seems like that's what the front office is doing. Or they could take all the resources from buying all these things and blah, 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 and go get the meal. Go get the meal. Right? You can go get the meal. The meal is going to be consistently good all the time. That's why they sell it. Or you can go get Zach LaVine. And if you really frisky, chase guys like Anthony Edwards. If you're really frisky, you got the assets. You probably got the assets to get Cat and Anthony Edwards. All those draft picks you got, the Knicks have all these. I keep looking online. I keep thinking it's a typo. I keep thinking I'm looking at it wrong. Do the Knicks really have all these first round picks? Maybe Anthony Edwards is pie in the sky. But how about DeJounte Murray? Maybe Anthony Edwards is a bridge too far, but how about DeJounte Murray? How about Zach LaVine? Every time I look at the assets, every time I look at the Knicks assets, I swear I think I'm looking at a typo. This can't be real. Do they really have this many first round picks? Yes, they do. Every time I go back to the website, is yeah. They do have all the assets. They have all the assets to go get a Damian Lillard. They have all the assets. They have all the assets to go get a Zach LaVine. They have all the assets to go get the unattainable players out there. Right? They have all these pieces that they can use to go get them. The thing about it is, do they go get them from another team? Or do they, dare I say, move up in the draft? Do they package a ton of draft picks and young players to move up in the draft and get a day one guy? Do they make a cat deal and then go get a young piece to go with him, to go with Brunson? So you give the front court their piece and then go get a young guy out of the draft for a high upside guy out of the draft for Jalen Brunson to mentor. I don't know if you guys feel like Jalen Brunson is a leader or a mentor or not. I'm willing to take my chances on a high upside athlete in this draft and have Jalen Brunson mentor him. Now, I don't know if Jalen Brunson would be open to that. I don't know how open Jalen Brunson would be to that. But I know going to get Zach LaVine's are expensive. Right? Zach LaVine's are expensive. Devin Booker's are expensive. Damian Lillard's are expensive. Jimmy Butler's are expensive. Cade Cunningham's are expensive. Benedict Mathurin's now are expensive. Anthony Simons are expensive. But to go get an A1 guy, a day one guy, to go get your A1 day one that has never put on the jersey of another team, and you can bring him up under the mentor and tutelage of a Jalen Brunson, could be 2/3 the price. It'll be 2/3 the acquisition cost and 1/3 the salary. For instance, do you call Charlotte? And I know this is pie in the sky for some folks. I'm just only exploring. Listen, I'm having a complete conversation. I want to cover all the bases. I'm not trying to lead you one way or the other. I want you guys to make a determination for yourselves. The reason why we have the chat that we have is because cats think for themselves. Right? Cats think for themselves. I don't force you to think a certain thing. I don't force feed you information and things of that sort. Right? We got to have the complete conversation. And if we're going down that road, you have to think about the draft. Knicks fans, you can't live on the quick fix. Right? You can't live on the quick fix. At some point, you have to use the crock pot. At some point, you got to use the crock pot. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you got to use the oven. You can't Uber eat yourself to death. It's not good for your physical health, not good for your mental health. It's not good for your emotional health, eating fast food every day. It's not good for your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. At some point, you got to get over the stove and cook. You got to turn on the oven. You got to turn on the crock pot. You got to turn them eyes on top of the stove. Everything can't be a McDonald's number 7 every day. Right? And if you're in that mindset, if you're thinking like, yeah, Uncle Freezer, you might be right, that you can't live on quick fixes. You can't you can't sign Jalen Brunson's all the time. You can't sign Julius Randle's all the time. You can't trade for Karl Anthony Towns' all the time. At some point, you have to use the draft picks that you accumulated. And put together a balanced roster of homegrown talent or high-end homegrown talent, free agents, and trades. That's how you do it. Free agents and Randle and Brunson, trades and Zach LaVine or Karl Anthony Towns or Joel Embiid. But the other option is the draft. The draft. So if you're the Knicks, and I'm merely just putting this out here, it's just food for thought. It's just food for thought. It's just food for thought. The Knicks have a bunch of assets, and they are exceptionally good at managing assets, right? Then why not ride this thing out and at least explore a major trade for a player and a major trade for a draft pick? Why not? Why not? That's it, everybody. That's all I got, man. 72 minutes, back-to-back, non-stop talking. That's all I got. So thank you. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to the members of the channel. If you're not a member of the channel, man, please consider joining, becoming a member of this channel. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. We have the audio podcast coming your way soon. I'm out of here. I'm going to finish up my Father's Day probably with a bad movie on Netflix and probably the rest of this Chex Mix. I'll probably finish off this Chex Mix and watch a bad movie. I will holler at y'all in the morning. Thank y'all for coming through. Peace, y'all.